Hello, travelers. Welcome to Lorespire. We were fortunate enough to be able to obtain a review key for the new Expeditions Rome game that releases on January 20th. Yes, that's the day. It releases today. Okay, and because we received that review key, thank you THQ Nordic for providing that. We were able to play the game in its final release state before it actually released. All right, we have not had enough time to finish the game, but we have put in about 12 hours or so, and so far I am loving it. Okay, so yeah, in this video, I'm going to go over several key points in the game and let you know what they're like. And at the end, I will tell you whether or not I would recommend buying it. So stick around for that. There are timestamps in the description, so you can skip ahead if you like. In our pre-release live stream of this game, we were discussing what kind of game it is, and we decided to call it a historical strategy CRPG. This is because the game is rooted heavily in Roman history. Okay, it uses the actual armor, weapons, and other items of that time. Okay, now I'm not an expert in Roman history, so I can't say exactly how accurate everything is, but I can say that it all comes together in a way that creates an amazing atmosphere that has me feeling like I really am playing as an actual Roman legate, with centuriones and legionari under my command. And yes, that's how all of the characters pronounce those words in this game. Which brings us to the dialogue. I think the writing and voice acting so far has been more than good, bordering on great even, in my opinion. At first, the way the various characters spoke through kind of threw me off and annoyed me a bit. But it didn't take long for me to actually start enjoying it. And it actually definitely adds to the flavor of the game and allows you to get more wrapped up in the fantasy of being an actual legate in ancient Rome. It's pretty awesome. As far as companion characters are concerned, they too are done well up to the point that I have reached in this game. Now, I've only experienced the beginning of each of their stories, but they each have their own secrets, quirks, variances, and imperfections that make all of them interesting in their own ways. Okay, there's not a single one of them, 12 hours into the game, that I'm not interested in finding out more about. And so far, THQ Nordic has delivered and, made me kind of get vested in them and interested in them. And I think that these things are going to play out, and the character arcs that each of these companions is going to have will end up being quite interesting. So hopefully I'm right about that. Anyways, at this point, my favorite companions are actually an ex-gladiator and a member of the Speculatores, which is a group that could be like into like a spy agency or the KGB, something like that. Character specialization in this game is a little lackluster. Okay, characters do start off with traits, but you do not get to pick them. They start off with them and they can gain more that you do not get to pick. They're already set as those characters progress. There are only 4 classes to choose from, although I have seen alchemists in enemy ranks, so I am hoping that at some point we do gain access to an alchemist class, and if that happens, it's possible that we may gain access to other classes as well. Remember, I am only 12 hours into the game, so it is possible that there may be more than 4 classes before the game is over. Anyways, each class has 3 different skill trees. Whenever you gain a level, you get a skill point. You can use that skill point to invest in skills and different skill trees. The more points you have in a particular skill tree, the better skills you can access from that skill tree. Pretty basic stuff that we do see from most RPGs. All right, you can mix and match talents from different trees together, but of course, doing that does slow down your progress to the better abilities that are in different skill trees. Now, with these classes and the skill trees that we have, you can specialize your characters to do things like healing or to focus on damage or absorbing damage, supporting your party, uh, doling out status effects to enemies, crowd control, or just, good old archer with some range damage. All right, and hopefully an alchemist at some point that could give us some nice AoE damage, possibly. Anyways, a lot of the customization that you will get, it actually comes from your weapon choices, because all of your attack abilities will actually be determined by your weapons. Different weapons give you different abilities, which is actually kind of cool because you can have two different weapon sets on each character, and you can switch between those. And as long as you keep different weapons in different weapon sets, you gain access to different abilities. So that will give you a wide range of abilities to use for various situations if you make sure that your weapon sets are varied. Okay, and that's really all that there is to customization that I've seen so far. No ability scores to have to put points into or anything like that. Um, Real quick now, do me a favor and hit those like and subscribe buttons, because we are going to be bringing you videos and live streams for Expeditions Rome and of course Wrath of the Righteous over the coming weeks, and you do not want to miss those. Also, we do now have YouTube memberships available to those of you who want to support the Lorespire community even more and help us up our content game. You can get some unique, cool, customized Lorespire badges and emotes for signing up, as well as some other perks, and of course your support is not only needed, but greatly appreciated. Thank all of you. Now you're probably thinking, all of that is great, but what about the combat? Well, there are two kinds of combat in this game: large battles between legios or armies, and then tactical, hex-based grid combat between your party and your enemies. The larger battles between armies are done well enough that they don't bring the game down, but they don't give it much of a boost either, at least from what I've experienced so far. Without going into too much detail, you'll basically choose a commander to lead your legio in battle, and you choose a starting strategy or formation for the battle. Then the battle will play out based on your commander stats, your army stats, the strategy that you have chosen, and of course, the enemy army's stats. Events will happen during the battle, like enemy reinforcements entering the battle, and when an event happens, you choose a new strategy to use in light of that event. You have no real-time input during the battles aside from choosing new strategies when events occur. There is an overview animation that you can watch of the battle, but it is incredibly basic, and for me at least, it was not very interesting. Thankfully, THQ Nordic included an option to skip the animations and just proceed to the next event. If you choose to skip the animations, you can be through an entire large-scale battle in just a few minutes. So far, this has been an okay experience for me in the game. Not really good or bad. If you want to know more about this part of the game, these large-scale battles, then there is a link to our first stream of this game down in the description. And when we get to a large-scale battle, during that stream, I go over the specifics and the details, much more vividly than what I have here, much more in-depth than what I have here. The tactical, grid-based battles, on the other hand, are by far the biggest highlight of this game. The combat is layered, and while it seems pretty basic at first, there is actually a lot to consider, and as you become more experienced, you begin to learn how to manipulate the combat systems to your advantage, and how to combo character skills and abilities together for cooler, more impactful effects. You can use the terrain to your advantage with things like buildings, fences, boulders, and palisades providing either full or partial cover. You cannot climb sheer walls, of course, but you can jump from the tops of buildings as a quicker way to navigate areas. Okay, and there really is a whole heck of a lot more that I'm not mentioning here, but this video is already going on longer than I intended, so I'm just going to finish up this section by saying this. While it may still be fairly early in the game, the combat is really shining, and it has been spectacularly fun so far. And if THQ Nordic manages to keep the combat this fun and interesting for the entire game, then this will be a great game on that merit alone. I really am having a hell of a time with this game so far, and at this point I would recommend this game to anyone who enjoys CRPGs and is okay with playing one that doesn't take place in a fantasy or sci-fi setting. Keep in mind I have not finished the game yet, but unless Expeditions Rome just becomes riddled with game-breaking bugs in the later acts, I can't see me not highly recommending this game by the time I'm finished with it. Oh, and speaking of bugs, thus far I have encountered none at all. So hell yeah, great job on that, THQ Nordic. Now be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and consider supporting us with a membership. Also turn on that notification bell because we should have a full review as well as other videos coming out over the next couple of weeks for this game. Alright, and you do not want to miss those. Thanks for all of your support, all of you. Couldn't do this without you. This has been Chris with Lorespire. Be well, my friends.